Welcome to Champions League Volley 2022. Whether your team is looking to win their first, trying to earn redemption, or go back-to-back, this is a tournament you won't want to miss. The Champions League group stage starts Tuesday, November the 23rd.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the European Volleyball Show. So nice to have all you guys back here again. It's been a while. My name is Dan. I'm here today with Rob, and today is a special episode of the show, guys, because we are going live before the big match this week, VakifBank versus Monza, our very first super match of the week this season. It's going to be a great one, VakifBank versus Monza. These super match of the week will happen every week with English commentary right here on YouTube, guys. So you can watch this. Rob and I will break it down here for you guys and then head over to Eurovolley TV or right here on the YouTube channel to watch the match. It's going to be a great one. So thank you for watching. And thank you, Rob, for joining us today as well.
Thanks, Dan. It's great to be back. It's crazy the Champions League is already back. I'm so excited for this. We kicked off the show about middle of the fourth round of Champions League last year, but it's being run more the normal way, so less so where you bring all the pools to one spot and play within a weekend. We've got like 6 pretty distinct weeks of matches now this year, back to the normal Champions League travel format. A lot more volleyball stretch out throughout the season, and there's so much to get to. I'm so excited that we're actually doing sort of a pre-match show for the huge matches every Wednesday. This is going to be a really fun way to preview the big match, and then everyone in the chat can just switch right over to the YouTube stream and watch the big game. It's great, and what a way to start it off, huh? VakifBank versus Monza. This is about as big as it gets.
I know this is like one of the matches I think everyone had circled in their calendar, so I'm really glad as well that we're able to have it as our first super match of the week. So yeah, just so you guys know, 5 o'clock CST, the match will start, or 27 minutes from now on the YouTube channel. So for all you guys in the chat asking when we're going to start, yeah, 27 minutes. So you guys watch this, we'll break it down, and then we'll all head over to the match together virtually to watch it. So, Rob, where do you want to start with the match today? VakifBank versus Monza, 2 of the best teams in each of their domestic leagues. VakifBank Turkey, Italy, Monza. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with these teams, especially, I think, VakifBank. There's a lot of questions. So why don't we start with them?
Let's start with them. Yeah, totally. So VakifBank, as many of you are very well aware, one of the best teams, one of the best clubs in Europe, really of all time, and one of the true powerhouses in Europe the last decade or so. They just had their all-time consecutive win streak broken by their European rivals Conegliano earlier this week. But this year's particular version of VakifBank, looking to get back to the Champions League superfinals where they were last year. They lost one of the closest, narrowest margin 5-setters you'll ever see in the championship match. So VakifBank is back. They were, until very recently, atop the standings domestically in Turkey. And they've got a couple transfers this offseason that we can talk about, and a couple issues with their lineup that we totally don't exactly know what to expect, at least for today. So, Dan, let's get into it.
Yeah, so first of all, if you guys haven't been aware, let's talk about the biggest transfer first. Mayan Janovic, no longer with the team. If you guys haven't been watching the Turkish league so far, Yantu Ozbay, the Turkish setter, played a lot with the Turkish national team this summer. She has been the full-time starter and doing a great job, Rob. It's obviously tough to fill someone like Mayan Janovic, fill her shoes, but Yantu has been doing great so far. The other thing is that Zara Gunesh, a staple of VakifBank for the last few years, she has actually been injured for most of the season. So it's been a bit tough so far. I mean, they do have like a more than capable replacement with Melis, the captain of the team last year, in the middle, and she's been doing a great job. One of the best blockers in the Turkish league this season, but obviously a player of Zara Gunesh's caliber is tough to replace.
Agreed. They also went out and got Shako Bogu, the American gold medalist from this summer. They got her from Kshatsibasi. So that was a big pickup, replacing, I believe, Milena Rasic. But their wing trio is the same. You've got Gabi from Brazil, Michelle Barchackley from the U.S., and of course Isabel Haak. Dan, you gave this team the nickname VakifBank last Champions League season, and I still love it. And I think we should stick with it and run with it. We didn't see Isabel Haak last match for VakifBank. Fortunately for them, they have Miriam Bose, who might be the best backup opposite on the planet, which is crazy. But do you expect to see Isabel Haak in this match? Do you have any insider information on that?
So she didn't play on the 17th in that. I mean, we could talk about it a bit more later, but VakifBank losing to a mid-table team in Turkey, which I think it was a shocking loss to a lot of people, Kuzeyboru. But she did play on the 20th against Galatasaray in a 3-0 win. So I think, Rob, that we will see Isabel Haak tonight. And I think a few people in the chat have been saying Isabel Haak is ready for a big game. She's a very popular player. But definitely, like you said, Chako Bugu is having an absolutely unbelievable season for VakifBank, hitting 64% on the season, also being one of the league's best blockers. So she's by far and away top there. But yeah, if you guys, I love reading the chat here. So if you guys have anything else to contribute to the discussion, then we are going to kind of pop back and forth here with the chat as well. But yeah, Zara Gunesh, I wouldn't expect her tonight, Rob. But, she is, her return has been rumored for a while. So it would be a very fitting return, I guess, if she were to come here.
It would be a fitting return. And both of these teams have had this match circled on the calendar for a while. They've been planning their kind of lineup usage and trying to rest a couple players in preparation for this one, which kind of leads us to VakifBank's Italian opponents, Vero Volley Monza. So this past weekend, Monza played in the Lega Volley Femminile. They beat Castelmaggiore 3-0, and it was easy. I actually had the pleasure of commentating that match on volleyballworld.tv, so I watched every point of it, and they didn't even need to use Magdalena Stisiak, one of the biggest off-season transfers in all of Europe on the women's side. Stisiak coming over to Monza from Scandicci, and they didn't even use her at all. They kept her on the bench. They used Lise van Heck, who's, again, one of the best backup opposites in all of Europe, which is crazy. They also didn't use Alessia Gennari, Italian outside hitter, which was another big move in the offseason. They had Anna Daviskiba, who was MVP of that match. Monza's got a lot of depth. They've also still got the connection from Alessia Oro to Anna Danesi in the middle, like one of the best setter middle duos in the business, European champions, of course, with Italy. So this Monza team, after winning CEV Cup last year, had the type of offseason that makes you think, oh yeah, this team is really ready to make a big move this season. Especially they knew they were getting promoted to Champions League. They made the moves that prove that they're a contender to me, Dan. And so far, pretty good in Italy. They lost 2 very close 5-setters to Conegliano and Novara. They beat Scandicci. They've beaten just about everyone else they've played. Yeah.
So, like you said, they're a contender. I'm just going to go through a couple questions in the chat here. Okvan asks, will there be a commentator on the game? There will be, and that'll be true for every match of the week here, guys, that we'll be previewing. Rob, I believe even you are going to get in on a couple there. So
yes, I am. A couple
that'll
weeks.
Be fun. Yeah. And people are saying Sarah Gunesh is wearing her uniform, so maybe that's a sign that she might be ready to play. Definitely not a guarantee, though. But getting back to Monza for a sec here, like you said, Rob, I don't know. I mean, obviously they made some very good moves in the offseason. And we saw, I think, Alessia Oro take another step this summer with such a great performance with the Italian national team. But they still have not really been able to get over the hump against the other top teams in Italy, losing to Conegliano and Novara in 5 sets each. Although, to be fair, they were probably the closest team to beating Conegliano that we have seen pretty much in the last, 75 games is it now? So,
70, some unfathomable number. Yeah. The point about Alessia Oro is a really good one. That match that I watched or that I commented of Monza's this past weekend, it was like, so sometimes when you really watch setters and you really watch setters at the peak of their game, especially when you're there in person, Dan, you've probably noticed this. So I've seen, I compare it. The best example I can give is Maroof from Iran, like the setter who just retired from the Iranian national team. I've seen him play in person before, and that dude, when he's really in the zone, when the ball is on its way to him, you can tell that he totally controls everybody else on the court for both teams. He's totally in control of all 5 of his teammates. and all 6 of the players on the other side of the net. And what I saw Alessia Oro doing this past weekend against Castelmaggiore without all of her weapons at her disposal was pretty similar to that. The offense that she ran, she was so in control of all of her hitters and all the opposing blockers and defenders. She got so many one-on-one looks for her hitters. It was unbelievable. It helped that they passed the ball really well. Castelmaggiore was not able to put very much pressure on them from the service line, but she spaced the middle attackers like I've seen very few women's teams really ever do. Danesi mostly an in front of the setter sort of hitter, and like Zakayo didn't even play. It was Sonia Kandi, another Italian middle. She ran behind a lot more, but she varied the spacing. Like she would jump off of 1 foot either directly behind the setter or all the way to the antenna, or sometimes like halfway in between. And then to Danesi, Danesi's so good at finding just a little bit of space in between the 2 opposing blockers. Their middle offense, Monza's middle offense, was really impressive, and out of the pipe as well, they're really threatening. Lazovic really good over there, Gennari really good from there. And another player from Monza, Dan, that we haven't talked about yet because she's barely played, a player that we barely saw this summer on the national team stage, Brankica Mihailovic from Serbia coming to Monza this offseason. That's a huge pickup, bringing her in from Fenerbahce. Played in Turkey before for sure. But we've barely seen her coming off. I don't know the nature of her injury that kept her out of Eurovolley and mostly kept her out of the Olympics. But when Mihailovic gets healthy, that's a huge addition to this Monza team that's already pretty good.
Yeah, well, I think the main thing, Mihailovic could be great when she comes back, but the one player I don't think she's going to replace, Rob, is Katarina Lazovic, who is obviously a great addition to the team, but I think is even surpassing expectations on what we thought of her. She's hitting 40% efficiency, or 40% on the season. That's pretty much tied with Catherine Plummer for best outside hitting attacker percentage in the entire league. And I think like she's a great player, but I don't know if we expected her really to be one of the best outside hitters in the entirety of the Italian league, super competitive league. So they're going to rely on her a lot because they have been for a while. But like you said, Alessia Oro controlling the game, and Bard Lowe in the chat says Oro, Yansu, and Danesi Okbugu will be the key in this game. And Rob, you nailed it earlier when you said, the Oro to Danesi connection is amazing. Danesi scoring in double digits in many, many matches so far this season. And both teams I think are going to be looking to run the middle as much as they can, especially, well, we'll see with Stysiak if they decide to give her 50 plus sets a game. But I think we could see a more middle focused offense for Monza here. And that could bring us maybe to the next point, because Salim Alkin in the chat asked who will be the key players for each team, excluding Haak and Stysiak. Rob, do you want to maybe take that?
I think you already just talked about it. And I remember when we were previewing the Super Finals match last year, we thought that a slight perceived advantage for that VakifBank team over Conigliano was the middle. Onjanovic's ability to set it and their blocking ability, just getting in the right places. I think that is still the key matchup here. It's both offensively and defensively. We'll see if Zara Gunesh can go. But Chaka Bogu, like you've mentioned, one of the best blockers in all of Europe right now. And then Anna Danesi, just as good. The spacing of the middle offense and the middle blockers' responses to that on both sides, that matchup goes both ways. I think it's going to really define how the rest of the offense is run. And obviously, it'll only be a matter of time until each team leans on their superstar opposite to get them out of some tough situations and score some points at high volume. But it all starts with the middle, the way the middles move around and generate separations and blocking matchups on the other side. So the thing, though, is, Dan, and the real fundamental important matchup that really informs how well a team can possibly set the middle is how well they can control the ball from serving and passing. How many times do we talk about the serve and pass battle being a huge key in elite level volleyball? It really is the most important individual area of the game that opens up really everything else. Serving and passing is enormous. We've got a couple jump spin, like pretty aggressive servers on both teams. Isabel Haak, one of the best in the world. Stysiak's a jump spin server. Alessia Oro has been jump spin serving. They've got some heat from the service line for both teams, and they're both liberos. Parachiali for Monza and Aikac for VakifBank are going to have their work cut out for them to really control that backcourt for both teams.
Well, I was cutting together some footage from the super finals from last year, kind of like a shot from the ground, and yeah, watching Isabel Hawk's jump serve from that angle is unreal. So I highly recommend you guys go check that out if you want to see just in here. I think the noise is the best of how strong Isabel Hawk's jump serve is, and yeah, it's going to be a huge part of the game. We know Gabby is one of the best passers including liberos and outside hitters. She's one of the best passers, if not the best, in volleyball.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that wing duo for VakifBank that much yet, and they deserve all the credit in the world. Yeah, Michelle Barch-Hackley started all Olympics this summer, has a gold medal around her neck. Gabi, one of the best all-around and most unique players in the world. Like her arm swing. If you guys haven't watched her before, check out number 10 in gold or black or whatever color VakifBank's going to wear today. The like round-a-house, really like wind-up arm swing that she has is really unique. Like you don't see players like put that much motion into their hitting arms that much in the game anymore, but she has so much power, so much range, and is one of the best passers on the planet.
And it really throws blockers off because I think the angle of the attack and the timing of it's just that much. It's just a tiny bit different enough to throw people off. We have a question here from Betul. He says, unfortunately, I feel like VakifBank is losing its charm and getting weaker. I think Fenerbahce looks better than VakifBank this season, or at least watching Fenerbahce this season is more fun. But that brings me to maybe a question for you here, Rob. The game against Kuziboro, was that an anomaly or was that legit? Was that actual cause for concern for VakifBank, or just one of those games that you lose focus on?
I think it was just one of those games that you lose focus on. The only reason for concern, I would think, is that normally VakifBank never has those games. Everybody on the planet has those games except Corneliano and previously VakifBank. And the fact that VakifBank can kind of have one of those focus slipping games is maybe a little bit of a cause for concern. But I think, especially with Guidetti at the helm, they have the ability to flip the switch and understand what a match that is really, really important. And this is definitely one of them. And perhaps it was even a little bit of a wake-up call for them that last like rather confusing loss. So if I'm a VakifBank fan, I actually think that might have been a good thing. Sometimes losses early on in seasons and in like less critical regular season matches are sometimes not bad. Sometimes they're a wake-up call. They can refocus teams a little bit, reprioritize them, and just give them a little more of a reminder of what's at stake in a given match. And I think that might have been a little silver lining for that loss for VakifBank. I am not concerned about them at all. They're still absolutely world class.
For sure. And yeah, Tule in the chat makes a good point that Hawk and Zaragunis, and I believe Melise were all missing in that match. But yeah, Giovanni Guidetti himself was the man who said on the A-Space podcast that losing can be the best medicine. And I think he talked about a match like last season where he's like, we're rolling, we're top in the league, we're on autopilot. But then one of these matches actually can wake you up.
Autopilot. Yeah. Autopilot is kind of the enemy of the great teams in volleyball because there's a fine line between being so confident and so in the zone that you're on autopilot, but then you can lose focus a little bit. That's a very fine margin. And I think Guidetti's right on the money with that.
Yeah. A great question here from Marcio Souza. Which team has the best pair of wing spikers?
Wow. So depends on exactly who we see for Monza. Gennari and Lazovic. Let's assume it's Gennari and Lazovic because Mihailovic hasn't been healthy. I think if you ask me about the best trio of wing spikers, I would probably give it to Monza, but the best duo of starting wing spikers, I think it would have to be VakifBank. I have a lot of faith in the Gabi and Barch-Hackley duo, especially like stylistically and experience. At this level, at the elite levels of Champions League and International, it's hard to pick against those two players.
I mean, it's a really nice offense-defense with the Gabi, one of the best passers, and then Michelle Barch, all-around player, is not a bad passer, but a bit more of an offensive powerhouse. But I don't know. I feel like the way she's playing right now, that Katarina Lazovic is the best out of this entire bunch. So,
and if you're Serbian, you love that fact because she's only 23 and outside hitter for the Serbian national team has been a position of need for a couple of years. Yeah, she looked awesome. She looked so good this past weekend in that match that I did. She's got more she's not even that big, but she's so springy, athletic, great arm, hits the ball down the line really, really well. I was specifically impressed by that part of her range. And that's not something that every outside hitter in the world is really good at. And I think it could be an area of a little bit of an advantage for Monza. Isabel Haak, a phenomenal blocker, but Cansu Özbey not quite as good. If it happens to be Lazovic against her head-to-head blocking, you could see her attack the ball down the line and maybe have some success. So we'll see.
Although, Rob, I feel like a lot of teams will try and attack Cansu, and then she's actually, I think she has 13 blocks on the season. Like it's not too bad. Actually,
she's no joke. You can't take it for granted.
This is one of my points that Isabel Haak, Gabby, who's also like weirdly a good blocker, even though she doesn't really look like she would be. Ogbogu, like maybe the best blocker in volleyball. Melise, Cansu, all with 10 plus blocks for VakifBank on the season. So there's a lot of different blockers on VakifBank. They're a big team, even though they may not seem like a really imposing team at the start when they have all their best blockers out on the floor. And that's not even without Zeraguna. She's a great blocker herself.
I think VakifBank has that edge in blocking head to head, and it'll be a little bit of a different style and a different look for Monza that even playing in Italy, which I still think is the best domestic league in Europe, they may not have seen a matchup exactly like that. Stysiak in particular, she's hit against some big blocks in her career. Like that's it's certainly not a concern for her, but it'll be a different look for Monza to look against as far as blockers on the other side of the net. And I'm really curious to see how Oro runs her offense, if they can keep her in system enough to really have that level of control that I saw from her last weekend.
All right, so only 8 minutes till game time, so we're getting close here. So, guys, if you have questions you want us to talk about before we go to the game, ask them now. Rob, here's a couple. There's a couple of outside hitters here for each team that I want to get your opinion on. If you think we'll see them today. First, Tugba Senelu for VakifBank, the young Turkish player, got some burn with the Turkish national team this summer, looked pretty good. Definitely behind the rotation behind Gabby and Michelle Barch, but she has gotten in when those players sat. Do you think we'll see her today either as a starting or maybe as a switch-up option midway through the game?
I don't think we'll see her. Barring injury, I think those two wing spikers for VakifBank, Gabby and Michelle Barch, are so important and so just crucial to VakifBank's play style that in a match of this caliber, unless like something really crazy happens, I don't expect to see either of them go to the bench.
Yeah. I mean, Tugba's a great player, but ultimately she's not at the level. I know a lot of Turkish fans might disagree, but I don't think she's at the level of the other two for Gabby or Michelle. And then there's a kind of player who I quite like this player on the other team, another hitter, Anna Daviskiba, whose husband is actually on the men's Monza team. But
right.
she Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but she played in the match that you commentated last weekend, and I think she's, I really like her. I think she's quite athletic, and the skills are coming fast.
Yeah, she won MVP of that match, and it was actually a cool thing because the Monza men just finished a match just before the Monza women had started, and Vlad Daviskiba won MVP of the men's match. Anna Daviskiba won MVP of the women's match. I thought that was pretty cool. No, Anna Daviskiba looked really good, and last year she was really prominently featured for Monza. Now she's a year older, more mature. She's still really young. She might be 21 only. Young player from Belarus. Young. Really good athlete, well-deserved MVP this last weekend. Like I said, Monza didn't play all their starters. But if Daviskiba is your third option as an outside hitter, that is a tremendous luxury for Monza. We talk all the time, Dan, about the third outside hitter position being really important in the club game, just because that's either that or your third middle is probably the first person to come off the bench and see significant court time in most situations, unless you put like a double sub setter opposite in there. But a different look or a little more ball control, or like, I don't know, one time through the front row in the rotation, or however the substitutions wants to work, the third outside hitter being really talented and prepared to come in and play is a big deal. And I think Daviskiba is ready at a moment's notice to come in for Monza if necessary. I was really impressed by her this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's the player I could see if things start getting a little dicey. Probably not Lazovic getting subbed out, but Gennari maybe if she's not struggling to score the ball, then I think that switch could happen. Wow, we've got a lot of questions here, guys. Good. We'll get to as many as them, but the match starts in 5 minutes. Okay, a lot of just comments on Chiaka Ogbogu. I mean, she's having an incredible season. Like, the one thing I love about Chiaka is just she's not the tallest player, but she always has her hands so ready. She has her arms ready when she's blocking, and the speed at which she gets up in the air and gets her hands around the ball is amazing. I think people aren't used to it because they don't see the body quite as much. They just see the hands going up, and it's by that point it's too late. So I think she gets a lot of people that way. And I think last year she had like an 8 or 9 block game. So yeah, Chiaka is definitely a player to watch today.
Yeah, she's great. Her blocking hands are absolutely world class. She's a little similar in play style to Ivan Yakovlev on the men's side. Do you see that comparison a little bit, Dan?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think we're running a little bit out of time, but before we make our picks, Dan, okay. I wanted to show this because if you like Champions League and you like watching all these matches, but the later we go in the season, the less likely it is that the match that you really, really want to watch will be on YouTube. So to make very sure that you can watch every single match this entire Champions League season, head over to Eurovolley.tv and use this promo code CLVolley50. Through I think the end of November, you'll get 50% off a subscription to Eurovolley.tv. The later we get in the tournament and the super finals in particular, those we know will not be on YouTube. You will have to have Eurovolley TV to watch those. So this is a huge opportunity to get an awesome discount on that platform. Make sure you go check that out to watch every single match, men's and women's, this whole Champions League season. And like CEV Cup and Challenge Cup as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great deal. Definitely, if you're a fan, I mean, there's going to be so many amazing matches. You know, maybe on YouTube you can watch, like tonight you can watch VakifBank, but then there's going to be a bunch of other matches. You're going to have to go on Eurovolley TV to watch the rest of them. So it's
one in particular that's happening tomorrow that I really want to point out: Novara versus THY Istanbul. Massive matchup. Micah Hancock versus Lauren Carlini head to head.
The return of Karakurt.
The return of Ebra Karakurt. Yep, Ebra Karakurt for Novara versus her old team. That's a huge match, and that'll be on Eurovolley.tv tomorrow, which is Thursday. So check that out.
Yeah. All right, Rob. Let's make our picks, and then it's time for the match.
Agreed. I'll go first. This has been the week of 5-setters in Europe. Me and our friend Everett on our show, the 9x9 last night, we're wrapping up the week of volleyball, and there was just so many 5-setters that happened all over Europe. And I'm going to go ahead and predict that this will be another one. I've got VakifBank in 5, 3-2. This match is in Turkey, by the way. So VakifBank playing at home. I think that'll be just enough for them. We might see some bench players for both teams. We might or might not see Zara Gunesh, but I think VakifBank will have enough to get past Monza in 5.
Okay. I'm going the opposite direction, Rob. I'm saying VakifBank, a little shaky right now, to be honest. Even if Zara Gunesh returns, she hasn't played in a while, so she could take some time to reacclimatize to the team. I think Monza is playing really well. I think they've proven to themselves that they can play with big teams. So I'm saying Monza 3-1 tonight.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Well, next week, excuse me. Next week on the pre-show for next week, we will see who was correct, Dan. We are just about out of time. I think perfect timing. So everybody flip over to the YouTube stream of VakifBank versus Monza. We will see you all next week. Thanks very much for joining us on the European Volleyball Show. I'm Rob. That's Dan.